ag, and food industries.
Wow. Anything else we can do? I mean, I've always been telling people, find your local farmer. I mean, make sure you know who they are. Be buying from them, and kind of bypass some of the big box stuff, because I honestly don't know what we're eating anymore. I'm sure you've had those same thoughts. Possibly, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm sure you've had the same thoughts of the food supply itself and what we're getting fed. And this is why I trust local farmers. So.
Yeah, the biggest thing an individual can do is that. And then from there, we need government policy. We need to make sure we
Mhm.
have fair markets domestically and internationally for our farmers, just like we need for our workers, right?
Right.
We need to make sure that research and development in this country, which is government, spends money on, but also large universities and large companies, they need to be focusing on technology that can bring innovation to all of our family farms, not just some. Technology moved American agriculture forward for decades, but over time it began to favor only the biggest farms, the most field rows, the most animals you can get in a building. We need more of what they call scale neutral technology. We lost focus of that in the last half of the 20th century. And it's technology, when it's scale neutral, it means that medium and small farms, as well as large farms, can bring it onto their farm, have it be practical, have it be affordable. We need to do more of that kind of thing so that American innovation isn't leaving the majority of our farms behind as well.
Hmm. So, how has the government, as far as even you guys as farmers, how much of big government is involved in farming for you overall? Like how much? But yeah.
Every farmer on some level deals with government. In many cases, probably more than they'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of farmers would, I think, like to not be receiving any kind of subsidies and things like that. There are certain markets that are there that are supported by that have been going on since,
Yeah.
current day farmers' grandfathers were there, right?
Yeah.
So here's what happened. After the Great Depression, there was and we talk about this in the book. The parallel story is my grandpa surviving the Great Depression and climbing into the middle class. And as this was going on, the government had a massive intervention during and after the Great Depression. The issue, or one of the issues, is that a lot of people thought those were emergency programs during that time period,
Mm-hmm.
and they just continued. And what our federal government has done since is they've just added program on top of program. So here's where we are today. We have some programs that don't work.
Mm-hmm.
We have other programs that are contradictory, and then other programs that are prone to favoritism and abuse, which we always know happens with government over time. And that's something that people on the right, the left, all kinds of people from all kinds of perspectives are frustrated with our farm programs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, because they've just been piled one on top of one another. So you do have farms that depend on certain types of subsidies that they wish didn't exist in that industry. Now our
Mm-hmm.
farm, we're a mix. So we're a traditional farm that raises corn and soybeans, some of those traditional row crops that we hear about.
Mm-hmm.
We also are trying to constantly experiment with new cash crops. We're raising beef for consumers, raising pasture raised chickens. So we're a traditional farm that's working to transition into that new food economy in any way that we can. And there's farms all along that spectrum.
Right. Well, what else do you want people to know? Because most people, I mean, this is such a foreign topic for people. They don't realize also how much our land is at risk itself. Not just
Yeah.
the farming, not just our food supply, which is extremely important to us, but also the land itself, because there's been all of these different measures on selling them off to third parties, foreigners, all kinds of things, and that has to do with all kinds of monuments, federal property, but also just land itself. And so, what are you seeing on that front? Just the land itself and the takeover with that, or I think the takeover. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Yeah.
I think there's a concerted effort to take this land. So
Yeah,
itself.
I think there is, and there has been for a long time in many ways that we're beneath the surface. The most alarming version of this, I think the biggest challenge is simply the cash poor part of this dilemma, which is that farmers are having a harder time making a living on that land, and it puts them in a position where they make choices that they have to make. But one of the more ominous and the more shocking areas, and actually small family farms can be a guard against this, is the way that the Chinese Communist Party is buying up American farmland. So it is, whether it's through, one business entity or another, it's all entities that ultimately tie back to the Chinese Communist Party that controls everything in China. And they have bought up north of 300,000 acres of American farmland. And when you look at that,
Wow.
we have, although it's still a small portion, it's rapidly growing. So in just 2 years, the amount of farmland owned by foreign countries went up 15%. That's part of the reason you hear people so alarmed by this issue. And in the case of the Chinese, they are doing a couple things. One is they're very patient and they're willing to build up their holding of American farmland slowly over time until they can really destabilize our food supply. But they're also, and this is not a coincidence, it won't surprise you, Kate, they are buying up land next to military installations.
Hmm.
And now, the best guard against this is a large network of small independent farmers, right? It's easier if our farmland is owned by a couple of billionaires
Right.
who have the Chinese convince them that it's good for their shareholders to sell them hundreds of thousands of acres. Try walking up onto the porch of a guy like my dad and saying, "We're with the Chinese Communist Party. We're here to buy your farmland." It's
Mm,
not going to happen.
right.
So if we have strong, small, independent farmers, it's harder for a foreign adversary to get their hands on a whole bunch of land in one great big deal.
Good. The things I've noticed with this are like, oh, you removed a fence pole over in this corner of the property, and therefore we're going to take your farm because that's it. You moved it an inch forward. Now it's on federal property, and I'm sure you're seeing more of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Actions
anytime,
taken.
yeah, government overreach can be utilized to strong arm people. That's what the government will do. It also happens in the form of taxation and regulations. And the
Mm-hmm.
water that's rule where you know
Right.
I thought a navigable water is something you'd be able to at least put a canoe through, but they're talking about creeks and cow ponds being regulated by the EPA as if it was the Mississippi River. I mean, it is absolutely insane the things that government will do or allow to be done,
Mm-hmm.
uh, make things harder for farmers.
And that's still going on no matter who sits in the White House.
Well, it's a good question.
Mm.
Over time, like over the course of history, I mean, we took 100 years of farm history and investigated it for this book. It is true that both parties have done this, the establishment of the Republican Party as well as the Democrats. I think that with the current administration, there's a very interesting thing going on. There's debates going on, of course, because President Trump takes actions that are controversial with people one direction or another.
Mm-hmm.
But I think farmers are seeing someone that they support in a very big way.
Mm-hmm.
Farmers are seeing someone who is willing to shake some things up in a way that could be helpful. And at the same time, farmers have to be aware of anything with the federal government because it's a big, big, vast thing. And any action that's taken has all kinds of unintended consequences as well. And so I think farmers who are big supporters of President Trump have learned that over time, both parties and kind of just the behemoth of the federal government will fail them if they don't keep really close watch.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Please give us the title again. My apologies for murdering the title at the front of the show.
No,
Gosh, it's been a day. Give us the title and where we can get it.
absolutely. Land Rich, Cash Poor, My Family's Hope, and the Untold History of the Disappearing American Farmer is available on Amazon, anywhere else you buy books online. It's also available in bookstores nationwide, and the paperback edition just came out, the new paperback edition. So we're very excited. I
Good.
appreciate any who picks it up, but more importantly, who spreads the word on these issues. And I thank you for doing that.
Well, this is an issue that has more importance than people will ever realize, and I'm willing to break away from headlines to talk about it because it's so huge. It affects every single person. I don't care what your ideology is. So this is amazing that you're putting your thoughts out there because a lot of farmers don't. We don't get a lot of books. Farmers and ranchers aren't putting out books. They're so busy trying to stay afloat and trying to run their farms that I really appreciate it when somebody does because we've got to know what the issues are. We got to know what you're facing, and then we have to know how to help you. And I think that it's high time that Americans realize that our food supply is in more peril than we think, and that we had better shore up those local farmers. The more the public shores you up, right, Brian, then the more you stay afloat no matter what. So if the public was continuously coming to you for all of their goods, if they were on a daily basis, would that not change the scope and the trials coming to the American farmer and rancher?
It absolutely would. Everyone in this country has it in their power to change things and help support our family farms across the country. And in doing so, they benefit themselves because they support a wider range of options for their food and what we're putting in our bodies. And so you stated exactly right. And you're right too that, farm families and ranch families don't speak up all that often. They've got their nose to the grindstone.
Yeah.
And they're also kind of taught not to complain, although farmers are kind of good at complaining in private.
Mm-hmm.
You're taught not to. My dad is as tight-lipped of a stoic farmer as you'll find, and yet when I talked to him and asked him if he was willing to tell his story and the story of our family through the generations, he said, "We've got to tell people the truth. People need to know." And so I think that it really is a situation where we tried to
Hmm.
tell an honest, raw story, and we hope people respond to it because, if we don't do something, if we keep losing farms at the rate of 45,000 a year going forward, like we
Jeez.
did the past century, we'll lose the rest of our farms in this country in 40 years.
Wow. Wow. Oh, I hope that resonates with people. I think our farmers and ranchers are the salt of the earth. I think when we talk about America, we're talking about those individuals, truly. I've always felt that way. I've always said that on the show. And I really appreciate you, Brian. It's a big issue. Go friend your local farmer and make sure that you're going directly to them. Let's cut out the big box. And also, I don't know what we're getting in those packages anymore. And I'm telling you, I don't mean to sound weirdly suspicious, but I am very suspicious of all of the things that the government's doing to our food supply. So therefore, I trust my local farmers a lot more. So thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's important stuff.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You betcha. All right. So I am. I'm going to actually entertain some phone calls, and you can call up 435 680 2503. 435 680 2503. And 435 for Utah, Southern Utah, by the way. But I would like to take your calls because I think it's so hugely important right now what we're doing. I played this clip at the front and I want to play it again for you. I think it's very important. I'm going to take a caller, but caller, I actually want you to hold for just a second because I want to play this again. And yes, we're going back to the Charlie Kirk. The Charlie Kirk murder. So let me play this for all of you guys, okay? Here we go.
So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU.
Did, did that make sense to anybody? He said it with a straight face, but as he was saying it, Governor Cox of Utah, I thought he doesn't even believe what he's saying. I'm going to play it one more time for you. Here we go.
So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU.
Okay. No, the backpack wasn't stuffed. And now, where I thought we just had, obviously the towel and the disassembled rifle in the very small backpack, we now have an extra set of clothes. An extra set of clothes, a towel. Why a towel? A towel and a disassembled rifle in a very tiny backpack that looks like it's not full. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm keeping up with the facts. Jeez, I can't. I mean, did the guy bring a wardrobe rack? I mean, really? Come on, you guys can't believe this. Oh, geez. Okay, caller, go right ahead.
Well, anybody that was going to go into an assembly with hundreds of people and they're going to murder somebody, after they shoot them, they change their clothes. I think.
Good grief.
That's-
I mean,
yeah,
come
it's so
on. Yeah.
idiotic to even
Idiotic.
suggest that a murder would do something like that.
Yeah.
Where's the governor's explanation for why he would change his clothes
I don't know.
on the roof where he just killed somebody before he leaves the area? But I want to mention on this interview you just gave, there was a great expert, and you've had her on your show on federal government's control of farms and land in America, and it's Rebecca Terrell
Oh,
with
yeah.
the New
Yeah.
American Magazine.
Yeah.
And she gave a huge presentation. It just will make you sick. All the federal agencies that control farms, that control in America, and they're all regulations towards abolishing the small farmer, and they've done a good job on that already, and just have the billion-dollar corporations controlled by the conspiracy. The man that started out, just make that one last point on this. The politician that started the federal control, all in Constitution, there's no authority for the federal government to be involved in farms at all, was Abraham Lincoln. He created the Department of Agriculture, federal department, where there's no authority for that to exist. But there's so many laws and agencies developed down through the years. If you get her on, you just can't believe. And huge billions after billions of dollars of subsidies. A lot of the farmers are the greatest welfare recipients in the world, but it's all controlled. They have their people they pick, and the small farmers are usually none of them or any of them. But anyway, how about some smoking gun evidence beyond what you just, and it's along the lines of what you just talked about,
Sure.
that we've been lied to by the FBI, the state police, and everybody involved in this investigation, and probably the politicians, Cox, and on up. One was the camera, the first one, and this is highly incriminating, but the second one is, I think, smoking gun evidence. Magicians, they want you to look at one hand and not the other. So we're the camera of the fellow running across the roof and jumping off. They want us to look at that and where he went and so forth. They don't want you to think about the camera and the cameraman.
Yeah.
So where was that camera? It was perfectly located, probably a couple of stories above the building. So it's probably at least a third floor, fourth floor, or maybe it was above. And it was being operated.
Right.
And there's nothing to be looking at. You can't see the assembly for that camera. You can't see Kurt, you can't see anything. So why is there somebody sitting up there just looking at a top of a building in a parking lot was in front of it, and just waiting for it? And then as soon as he starts running, somebody starts running, they take the camera in and it moves. Now, some would say, well, maybe it's a motion sensory camera and it didn't have a cameraman. But that's impossible because there was all sorts of other motion. There was cars going through the parking lot. There were people walking around, and yet it wasn't. That would be triggering it. So that is highly suspected that there's somebody sitting at the right level, just waiting for this fellow to run off, jump off the building. But here's the one that's really more incriminating. I think this is beyond a reasonable doubt, and you just touched upon it a little bit, and that's the gun in the bag. So we've all been told the gun was in the bag.
Right.
That rifle is in the category of large rifle. It was the primary weapon, if I remember correctly, that we used in World War I. It was used all the way from, I think it was 1906 all the way up until the late 70s of Vietnam and Korean War, but it wasn't the primary rifle. And that is a long barrel gun, and it is not a gun you can assemble quickly. I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You have to have the tools to do that.
It's not easy.
So he would. If you look at the bag when he jumps off, I went through the film several times. The height of anything in it was probably 2 feet, maybe if you give him an extra 2 or 3 inches, 2 feet, 27 inches, something like that. That gun ranges. You can look this up online. It ranges between 40 and 48 inches in height. 30 on 6, because there's some different models. So on a normal man, that would go up to about 3 or 4 inches above the belly button. That bag, you'll see it goes up to about his knees. So where did he have the time to change his clothes, sit there and disassemble that gun? Nobody is that that could shoot a gun is that stupid. I've worked with the military retarded. You'd have to be in the severe category to be that stupid. To sit up there and while law enforcement is just allowing them to do that, picking their nails or something like that. This is so idiotic. So that is pretty much smoking gun evidence. If you go back and look at the tape, you see that whatever's in the bag. Now, one other point, even the stock of the gun, even if he did disassemble it, the stock of the gun would probably be longer than what is in the bag. So did he cut the wood, have a saw there and cut the stock in half?
He fit a lot in the magic backpack. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, we are obviously being, and this is evidence that the FBI is lying to us. The politicians and other people can see this. I kicked myself. I was at a meeting with Ben the Clinton organization last night, an educational meeting. The what is it, Liberty Tree Society organization, and there was a gun expert, and he's the one who brought that to our attention about the bag. You didn't have time to assemble that and whatever was in it. And the other one I came to meet today, that the camera, what is somebody just sitting up there waiting for how many decades was he sitting up there for this person to shoot somebody?
And I honestly, the event was really announced. I mean, the guy only had days. He didn't even live up there. And so I want to see pictures of him casing the joint, even just that. That would be pleasant. Hey, I mean, thanks for the call. I really, really appreciate it. What's up?
Really, you'll have a great interview with Rebecca Terrell on that subject.
Okay. Yeah, you got it. I'll get her back on. Back on. I was censored right after that. So it's been a 2 months. Let me just tell you. One thing I want to say is this about the why. People are asking about the why because we've gone through a lot of the questions and the evidence and things like that. I'm going to take the caller, but caller, just hang out for just a second, please. I just wanted to say this. I wanted to make sure and get this in. And this is really, really important because Cox made that asinine statement, which makes zero sense, obviously. There is the guy that's the pictures on Facebook of the new guy that was part of the new security team, and it's a little suspicious where he's standing when Charlie Kirk gets the bullet. So you can go look that up on Facebook. I put that up on the Kate Daly Show on Facebook. But I want to give you the overall impression of why. And by the way, the alleged shooter did not kill himself, or maybe he didn't Epstein himself. Okay, when that happens, I would suspect that's the next thing to happen, and I do suspect we have bigger events. I do. I think there's going to be bigger events with more people. But I want to talk about this for just a moment because it's the mental health angle. So just callers, stay on for just a second. The next big push is war, digital currency, mental health. And I said a year ago and a year and a half ago and 2 years ago that they would put Trump in. They would make sure he goes back in because they wanted those three. These are the three things that are going to be on our forefront, right, during this term: war, digital currency, mental health. And there is the tranny bill on the table to take guns from trannies, okay? And what does that turn into? And we had the big push in 2015 to 2017 where I noticed that there was a big shift in mental health. The government was getting really preoccupied with it and really centered on how they were going to solve it. Now, government doesn't have a role in mental health. They don't. But they invented one. And so now what they're basically doing is saying to people out there, this is obviously obvious. If you point it out, we're going to say you're a conspiracy theorist. Now, the problem with that is that do they call defense lawyers and prosecutors conspiracy theorists? I said this on yesterday's show, right? They don't. But if you're a person and you question, because that's what you do as a prosecutor, you're putting together pieces to see how the story fits. So if you're a person doing that, they had this term all ready for you to get you to not talk about JFK back in the 60s. And that's why the CIA invented it. So it's kind of like a throw the ball and walk off the court. You're a conspiracy theorist. I can't talk to you. I'm weary. I'm weary of listening to the theories. And I'm thinking, are people this stupid? Okay. So you're sitting there looking at things that are so obvious. You're like, people don't get this? What? People don't understand? And they are going to make that the biggest mental health problem. Mark my words. I want it said today publicly so that what is today's date? The 16th, okay, of September, 2025. All I'm saying is that will be the new mental health. Right now it's going to be trans because they've had a lot of false flag trans shooters. But then it's going to turn into the person that does not believe and puts together the most obvious thought, you are the problem out there, America, and we need to do something with those people, and we need to put them away, and we need to get them help, and we need to get them a doctor. And when somebody says that, because those mental health facilities went up under King Dingaling and Hormala, they went up everywhere, okay? And they're still going up. There's no change, okay? That was our CARES money, our COVID money that was ripped off from us. And so they were putting in all these mental health facilities. Who do you think they're for? Okay, they're not for the not even a percent tranny that has a gun in America. They're for people that don't believe the narrative because they are going to get rid of social media because it's going to be too damaging. Wink, wink. Because it has too much misinformation. And then what they're going to do is make us the mental health problem. You just watch. You're a Christian, believe in God, you have mental health problem. You don't believe the narrative, you're a mental health problem. Just watch. You can kind of see the writing on the wall. Okay, caller, go right ahead. Sorry.
Greetings, Kate.
Hi there. Go right ahead. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Do this. Ask the audience. Well, I'll do it.
Yeah, you're live.
Just do a Google search. What is the speed of sound? Okay. Now, immediately after the shooting, immediately someone went on stage. There was a camera placed directly behind Charlie.
Okay.
And today that was brought up on another show about what was on that video. All right, everybody that was there needs to go hide your cell phones. If you were at stage front and you're videotaping this, it's not the video. Forensically, I want the audio. When you look at the impact, okay, there's a report. The gun is fired. If it was, as they say, 200 yards away, the impact is going to occur before the report. If you listen, and they've taken this, I've noticed, they're not playing the audio anymore. That to me, okay, 30-06 is a boom. A 22 is a pop.
Yeah.
This sounds like a 22 at close range. It doesn't sound to me like a 30-06. Now, anybody out there that is, used to firing that rifle or that's been downrange from it would know the sound. And there's experts out there. I'm just doing an analysis. That's all I'm doing. But if you've got a video and you got the audio, that needs to be protected because people will come and find you and take that from you and it will be disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
That's the smoking gun. That audio, physically, you can put that audio in what's called a shot clock, and it will show you from the time of the impact in millimicroseconds back, and you will determine instantly, was that shot fired from 200 yards away from a large bore 30-06, or was it at close range? And they claimed it was 30-06. They claim they've got other ammunition, so they've got the powder, the ballistics, everything that would tell them the speed of the bullet, the speed will determine if that in fact came from 200 yards away. There you go.
Amen, brother. Hey, I am so glad you called in, and it's so good to take calls now, and it's so good that we can hear these things. Thank you. This is just why I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You don't even know how much I appreciate this. I need the input from my smart listeners because I'm telling you, it's getting dicey out there. I'm getting a lot of hate mail, and so it's good to know you guys understand and get it. All right, caller, go right ahead.
Well, hey, Kate.
Hi.
Glad that you're back.
Can I stop? Just sorry. Can I just say I'm streaming live on YouTube right now? Kate Daly Show, streaming live. They got the show, so I'm just letting people know. Okay, so go right ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
So I love your audience. They're doing such a great job. Just a couple more pieces that I found on this that just, again, don't add up. So the first one that I came across was a video, and they were trying to show, all these hand motions, whatever. But in that video, instead of focusing on the security guards, there is this flash that happens on the gentleman's black T-shirt that is in between the security guard in front and behind. Now, I didn't know if that was something like discharge or the bullet itself. It turns out it's pretty much the bullet that's coming down through because of the timing of it and its perfect trajectory that ends up hitting Kirk. But the part that was crazy was that there was another piece of film that somebody had taken, and they are scanning the building, and there is a flash that goes off within the building that is closer and matches up perfectly with the timing. And the last caller was talking about the sound. Perfect timing with that shot that was taken within the building. And again, if we're talking about this preposterous story that the kid, packed the gun on the roof, changed his clothes into all black, which was a distraction, right? And then reassembles the gun or disassembles the gun, hops off the roof, reassembles the gun and throws it in the bushes. Also have the gentleman that was the elderly gentleman that claimed I was distracting from the real shooter, right?
Right.
So all those pieces together, so many different distractions. Another piece that's come up that's very, very peculiar to me
Mm-hmm.
is how long Kash Patel did not engage and have boots on the ground in Utah. So he,
Mm-hmm.
like everybody else, heard what was happening and did not say, hey, you know what? I know Charlie. He's my friend. But instead goes out to dinner at a very swanky restaurant that night. And then all of a sudden we hear reports that, oh, by the way, the FBI director in Salt Lake got replaced 2 weeks prior to this event.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like COVID in Utah. That's what happened with our health department
Right.
director. And then all of a sudden, after 12 hours, after Kash had, thanked local law enforcement for helping, and he's had 2 people that they were suspected of being involved released, all of a sudden, he is chewing out the local FBI boots on the ground in Utah,
Mm-hmm.
saying, what's going on, guys? Can't you get it together? Okay, Kash, why aren't you there?
Right.
So how many pieces of evidence were lost or
Oh, they were removing the camera. They were walking through the scene. It wasn't cordoned off at all.
nope? So how much evidence was moved, relocated, ruined, and now at UVU, they are actually digging up the ground because I'm like, where did the bullet go? Have we found the bullet? If it was that high powered and it went through his neck completely, sorry for the gory details, it would have lodged somewhere.
Yeah, there's no crime scene. And you know what? It reminds me of the schools, right? They burn the school down the second a false flag happens, and then they're going to burn this down. So, yeah, they're going to remove the dirt. What was that? What?
Yeah, they're digging up the dirt and they're
Yeah.
going to pave over all of it. What in the less than 2 days?
Yeah.
I mean, they got right on that. What was the plan? Like, was there a plan in place to do this prior to this event?
Great
Just-
questions.
So many bizarre pieces. But that video, and I've saved it, pieces like that I'm sure people have, and it was in a reflection that they caught it. So it was amazing. And
Yeah.
it just tells you there are so many. I'm hoping, really hoping that people continue to question and continue to poke holes in this ridiculous story because it absolutely is ridiculous. Obviously, Charlie, I feel really was murdered with this. But another piece that I don't know how many people have seen, you had mentioned that you felt strange watching his wife, and I was so happy to hear that because I didn't feel anything from her talking. I mean, until she got to the end where she was talking about what she told her little,
Right.
little
right.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just weird. It just felt
Well,
like hollow.
You know what's strange too is the pumping for Turning Point. Now,
Yes.
I've had Charlie on the show. If you're new to my show, I've interviewed so many people, and I've interviewed board members actually from there. It's not about that. It's about where this takes us. So why the pumping? I mean, it was a little soon to be pumping Turning Point. I understand the whole mission thing, but Turning Point in general. And then you have a lot of the youth going into Turning Point. Well, remember how I said they were moving us to the right? Right? They're moving us to the right. Now, I'm on the right, and I'm telling you, they're moving us to the right. They're moving our youth toward the right, but not the right that we think it is. It's a different kind of right, okay? It's a different kind of conservative. It's a conservative that doesn't ask questions. It's weird. It's weird out there.
It's a
And
sheep. Yes, it's a sheep.
yeah. So they're going to grow this like crazy. And was that part of the situation? Was that part of what was going to take place? Because I think this was a concerted effort. It was not that kid. And so, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I encourage people to go back and watch that wherever it was that you originally saw it, and just watch the facial features of that clip.
Yeah.
Because if you zoom in,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen her just a couple different events So I've never met her before.
Hmm.
But when I first saw it, and I'm like, well, they have a filter on her.
Right.
But when you zoom in, the eyes of that recording are very
Yeah, I don't know.
different.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
It's very, the whole thing in general, there's like so many things that I don't even think we could cover them in one show where I'm scratching my head going, really? I so appreciate your call. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. And such valuable info, too. I've got Dallas on the line, so I'm going to take Dallas on. Now, if you are new to my show in the last 8 years, it's been a while. The last 8 years, I will tell you that Dallas used to come on a lot, and he came on. I think Dallas every week, right? Dallas, are you muted? Yeah, you're muted. Unmute your mic. So Dallas used to come on, and let me know when your mic's unmuted. So Dallas used to come on, and I'm telling you, it was a firestorm because we would get in the best conversations. Now, he was considered the liberal of the show, but I don't think he's liberal. I don't think you're liberal, Dallas. I think there's questions that bothered people, but I don't think it's that. Okay, you're still on mute, so you got to unmute somehow, some way. It could be in the settings for Zoom, by the way, too. He's working on that, but I'll tell you what, we had some pretty fiery conversations. Now, with that being said, I want to hear what his thoughts are because these conversations need to be had between people that maybe have a little differing ideologies, right? And that maybe, maybe can help us kind of look at the whole situation, right? Open eyeballs. But I do think that's very, very powerful to have those conversations. So, all right. Okay. He is still, you know what I'm going to have you do, Dallas? In fact, because it's still muted, what I'm going to do, if you can hear me, is go ahead and give a call to 435-680. I'm going to text you the number. I feel like that weird, like, remember that clip where it was like, I'll text to your email and then I'll I'll do this and this and this. I mean, there's just so many ways to get a hold of somebody, right? So I'm going to have you call. And I am going to, okay, I just texted you the number. Make sure that you just call. I'm going to take you off Zoom and we'll get a call from him. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. Dallas, are you on?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly. How are you?
Sorry about that. My big thumbs messed buttons up.
It's okay. Hey, listen, I'm actually glad to talk to you. It's been 8 years, and that's a really long time. So, okay. So we are at a kind of a weird place with this, with what happened with Charlie Kirk. And I want to get your thoughts. I also want to needle you a little bit because on the show you did say Donald Trump would never be president, and he is president twice. So I have to needle you.
Since been schooled.
Right? Okay. So, all right. So with that being said, because I was just waiting for that, but let me, okay, give us your thoughts. What's on your mind with this whole thing?
Well, to kind of lightly go back to what you were saying at the beginning of the show, that everybody thought I was a liberal, and it was, I kind of just let people think what they thought. But when I started writing opinion articles and coming on the radio, I realized that I lived in an area of the country that was largely conservative, and that if I were to bring a conflictual voice to this show or to my articles and ask pin questions in a community that mostly had news that was sort of in a vacuum chamber, so to speak, there was only really one side being spoken. And not to be really long-winded here because I want to engage you, but when I was in high school, my junior year, I took a class and I ended up reading John Stuart Mill's On Liberty, and came in extremely attended to or attached to the portion on justice to the arguments. And I won't quote him directly right now, but in essence, what he said is that if you don't know the inverse of your argument, you don't know your own.
Right.
And we can generally accept that as truth. now putting it into practice in our personal lives, our professional lives, our political lives becomes challenging. And I understand that. But my premise as a writer, and why I got labeled as a liberal, is because I was in a right-wing community and I was challenging the norm. And later I would take a debate class, and I'm a senior in high school and I couldn't wait to take debate because I thought debate class taught you how to win arguments. As debate, actual rigorous debate on a matter of consequence, isn't about winning the argument. If you're in it to win, if you've ever met anybody who says, I never lose an argument, I always say, so you're never wrong. And they say, yes. And I go, well, you're wrong about that.
Okay, fair.
The purpose of debate, rigorous debate, and it's an American ethos, rigorous debate on matters of consequence is to come to the truth. And in order to do that, you have to be willing to assert your opinion firmly, but probably it would be wise if you did your homework on your opinion and be prepared to receive new information you hadn't heard before that you need to verify and fact check and maybe change your opinion a little bit. And that's, they labeled me a liberal, and I got a kick out of it because Kate, every time I was on the show, I had a sidearm under my shirt.
That is true.
Like I'm a pretty conservative guy for the most part, but I will say, and we'll dig into this. I tend to be a little bit more centrist leaning, which makes me hated on both sides. And the only thing I'm kind of cheeky about it, I say, do you know who the first centrist was ever? And both sides claim him as their own. George Washington.
Interesting.
He cried or warned us about a two-party system, said that it would be the end of our republic.
Yeah, that's true. That's
yeah.
100% true. He did. I mean, I don't know if centrist, but he did, and he understood liberty, and he understood the nature of man, and he understood how power would be grabbed. And that's one thing that we don't learn from our history, is that we have a two-party system that is, they're both criminal, and they are both taking us to a situation, I think, long-term of our own enslavement. And we're helping. We're cogs in the wheel, baby. We're helping.
Oh yeah. So let me story, because this will predicate our conversation in this. When I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, I was a firefighter for part of my career, and I was driving down Georgia 400 in North Georgia one day in my pickup truck. I had a Ford F-250 factory highboy. It was badass. And me and this fella in another truck had, for some reason, either I was too close to him or he was too close to me, but we were side by side and we were having words, and we were in our late 20s, and we decided we were going to pull us out of the road and sort shit out, if you get my drift. Right?
Okay.
So he pulls up in front of me. I start to get out of my truck. Before I get out of my truck, I'm watching him get out. He's a big fella. And I'm looking if he's got anything in his hand. Is this going to be a fair fight, or is this going to be a not fair fight? And he didn't have anything in his hand, so I started walking towards him. And as I'm walking towards him, I look over his shoulder, and about 50 yards down the road on the other side of the highway, there's a Georgia State trooper parked, just looking like he's finishing up writing a ticket and looking at us like, what are you boys about to get into? So I looked at this fella, and hand to God, this conversation went just like this. I said, dude, I bet if we met under different circumstances, we'd be friends. And he said, what makes you think that? And I said, because we're both about to go to jail. And I told him about the state trooper, and he turned his shoulder. I said, don't look. And he looks at me kind of wide-eyed. And he said, he says, what do you think we should do? And I held my hand out, said, buddy, shake my hand like you ain't seen me in a while. Let's get the hell out of here. And I could hear him over my own laughing. And we laughed at ourselves, literally, at the stupidity of what we were about to do. And that served as a model in my life, my entire adult life, as the example. I have yet to meet someone on the opposite side of my argument that I couldn't respect and get along.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that. I think also there's varying degrees of what we know about history that actually position our ideology, and I think that's one of the biggest things that affects our ideology as well. Right?
I totally agree.
Okay.
And shoot, fire away.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on the Charlie Kirk? What happened with Charlie Kirk? This whole event.
I know it's getting kind of cliche to say this, but it broke me a little bit. Like it broke my heart. It's like, this is where we've come. This man has just been murdered. And before I get into the logistics of what I think this means for our country, the first thing that and foremost that all of us should say is, God bless that dude. Because my opinion, and this is not going to bode well with some people, and some people it will, and that's just the way it is. But the guy espoused an opinion, and some of them were not popular, I gather. I personally didn't listen to him much. I learned more about him after he died, I'm afraid to say. But he had the guts to espouse that opinion in public and say something as bold as, prove me wrong. I'm going to say something inflammatory and we're going to talk about it. And then he would respectfully let people talk about it. Now, the things he said may or may not have been over the top controversial. I'm not really going to get into that mud because I used to do the same thing, Kate. I used to write opinion articles that sent people into tizzies, absolute tizzies. People threatened my life. People threatened my kids' lives. And I would say, are you kidding me? This is the whole purpose of it, that the First Amendment, which we're about to lose, I think, is, and I can't emphasize this enough, if we lose the First Amendment, the rest of them don't matter. We lose the ability to inform and be informed as a nation and hold our government in check with the fourth estate. It's going to be us. So
what do you, okay, so let's talk tribes. What do you see the left doing that you're just cringing over? What do you see that? Where do you see that going? And then I'm going to ask you about the right. I kind
of see them doing quite literally the same things in different flavors, but an inability. And I thought about this question before you asked it. I knew you were going to ask.
Am I that predictable? Darn it.
No, you're not predictable.
Okay.
It's been a while, but I know you, Kate. I'm like, oh, I got to be careful. She's going to make me fuss. I think let's go back 10 years ago, pre-internet days, right? Which was right about the time I actually started writing articles. So maybe 15 years ago. But I used to espouse to people that if you make decisions about what you vote for, what you're going to spend your money on, what you're going to teach your kids, about any of your ideologies, your political leanings, or your religious leanings, if you make any of those decisions based on what any ratings-generated, profit-centric source tells you, you might not be making good decisions. And we saw it unfold and accelerate over time. Before the internet, there was the right side news and there was the left side news. I'm not going to name them. We know what they are, right?
Well,
and if you watch, and those on the left watch the left side news, and they only believe what they heard on the left side news, and those on the right watch the right side news, right? And it was the leading cause of the biggest misunderstandings in of all time. Add the internet to that. Add social media to that now. The news stations didn't have the ability to listen to your conversations and put things in your feed that agreed with what you were saying. Quite literally, I can go on Instagram and start searching and looking for right-wing ideology, and bam, I'm loaded.
Right.
Or I'll switch it up and look for left-wing ideology, and that's all it shows me. That defies the idea that the inverse of your argument needs to know. We're not reaching out across. What I see liberals doing, basically crapping all over this man's death. It's abhorrent.
Right.
But it's still free speech, you know?
Yeah.
And as much as I disagree with some of the things they're saying, it's just shaking my head going, come on. And you're going to ask me what I think of the right. I see the right doing the same thing. It's selective outrage, I think is the word for it.
Right.
You know,
selective outrage. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I read in the news today that and I didn't get all the details, so you probably know it better than me, but it was in Mississippi that a young black man was hung.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that today. My whole feed is this, so I didn't see that.
Okay. Well, and it's not making much of the news. He was found hanged from a tree on a college campus. Now, I don't know who hung him, and I'm not accusing either side of doing it, but it's as tragic, if not more tragic. Well, maybe he hung himself, but the murder of Charlie Kirk is the debasement of our culture. Or not. I should correct that. Not the debasement of our culture, but an example of how debased we've become.
What do you see as right-wing ideology, especially in this? What makes you roll your eyes and go, "Oh, right-wing ideology"? When does that take place? Like, what is being discussed?
That's a good question. Let me ponder that a little bit. But what I will start by saying is, I'm a registered Republican. I've been a Republican my entire life. Okay, and I get that
Right.
because it gave me a writing career, right? It was the idea that, if I could say it like this, and you'll understand this because you're in my generation, I was a Ronald Reagan conservative, right?
Most people don't know that about you. Yes. Go ahead.
What? And if you know what that means, I believed in conservative values, fiscal conservancy, family-centric values, right? A slight side note here, I find it amusing that right now it seems like the right is the proponent for the abolition of hate speech.
Yeah.
That was a liberal thing that drove the right wing nuts lately. It's like selective use of terms to serve your purpose. But right, what I saw and what I felt like happened in a timeline that lasted quite a long time was that my party got hijacked. And that happens sometimes. And I feel that, but I say the same thing about the left. Your party got hijacked.
Hijacked by government, hijacked by the party itself, the party itself.
By extremists. And what I think.
What's an extremist? That's really my question. So I'm glad you said that. What's an extremist to you? What ideology do they have? What's an extremist?
I can't pick on either side's.
Okay, are the people talking about the fact that they do not believe the narrative right now? They don't believe. I don't believe the narrative. I think it's obvious. What is that right-wing ideology?
No, that's not right-wing ideology. That's common sense.
Thank you. I thought I was losing my mind. Okay, thank you.
I'm presented with a set of facts here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember in grammar school when we watched Jiminy Cricket sing "One of these things ain't like the other." It's something that doesn't make sense here. Okay,
right.
A guy with a Mauser 30-06, which I have owned in my lifetime, doesn't break down in 30 seconds flat. Broke down his rifle, jumped off the roof, bent his legs with a rifle barrel in his pants, ran into the woods and reassembled the rifle. Yeah. Okay, maybe. But I'd like to see him do it twice in a row.
Yeah, it won't happen. The impossible.
But I buy the creed, and it's going to sound a little ridiculous, but let me explain it. You don't have to know what happened to know what. You don't have to know what happened to know what didn't happen, right? You need to assess and investigate something. Like my flip-flops go missing, and I go to my little boys and I say, "Where are my flip-flops?" And they say, "Well, maybe they walked away." I said, that didn't happen.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, you don't have them, is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Okay.
And in this case, where a narrative is being presented to us, and it seems like they keep tripping over themselves and changing it and changing it and changing it, and that doesn't instill confidence in the people that we're supposed to have confidence in that are taking care of this, and makes us wonder what happened. And then in every situation like this, law enforcement even is charged with the task and the duty of doing the responsibility of doing this is determine motive.
Yeah. Right.
Why would somebody want Charlie Kirk dead? And why would and speaking to one side or the other here, which I'm trying my best to do, is be equally yoked, is if they wanted to assassinate this man and present a false narrative, why'd they do it in public?
Well, they've done others in public.
Right. But it seems to me like it would have been a lot easier to spin a yarn about it if it happened to him, say, God forbid, at home.
Well, like Breitbart.
Right.
Okay. Like Breitbart. Interesting.
And I don't like what I see either side doing. And my message and you can hammer me some more hard questions, Kate. I won't
Okay.
debate all of them.
Okay, so
But
number one, I think they did it in public. If I'm gonna go off the cuff on this and tell you why they did it in public, I think it was because this was supposed to be something that they wanted us to fight over, get in tribes over, distract from the stuff that's actually that's really, not that this isn't really going on, but that is behind the scenes, like the tranny bill that came out a week before that they were discussing to take gun rights away from tranny people. Well, we all know, right, that that's going to segue into more select groups that don't get guns. And so those kinds of things. And so I think they wanted us to debate and to hate each other even more than they think
And-
we already do.
and distract us to other machinations that were in place. Like, it was really cute how they voted against the Epstein bill in the middle of the night after the Charlie Kirk incident.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and can I be safe to say that just about every American, right, left, middle, whatever, collectively agrees that the Epstein files need to be released?
Sure. I mean, they for a decade. Yes. Yeah.
And the $1 million question, why not?
Why not? And why is all of government acting on the same
Yeah.
party? Saying that it can't go through. So that's true.
right,
And yeah.
as,
No.
as the right,
Mm-hmm.
as the left decries them not releasing them right now, Biden was president for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
It very well could have been done.
Mm-hmm.
It literally sat on the shelf like it didn't happen for 4 years.
Yeah.
It-
So
except for a handful of people.
yeah, it does. It definitely could have come out, but I think everybody's working for the same team, so it's never going to. But they're going to play good cop, bad cop, and they're going to play fake fight, and they're going to play. I see that all the way down to city politics. Always a fake fight to get you thinking that somebody wants the truth to come out, but actually they really don't. And
No, they
so, what else do you see as some of the divisions? Where do you see people not coming together? Because I know you have liberal friends, very liberal friends.
I do.
A couple I don't like, but the rest of them okay. And then you have friends like me on the right. So, how would you like talk about that?
Characterize it. I would refer to my good friend Tom Clancy, who wrote The Sum of All Fears, and in the novel, the premise of that novel was that post World War II Germans were just having a discussion about where they went wrong. Okay, and don't anybody think that I'm labeling anybody Nazis here, because I have a lot to say about that. But these were supposed to be, and the characters were actually revived Nazis, and they were talking about how they went wrong. Which is a standard thing to do,
Right.
And furthermore, how they were going to come into power again. And what they determined is how we went wrong is we tried to take on both of the world's superpowers at the same time. And the way to win this time is to get both of the world's superpowers to take each other on. I believe there are machinations in place. There's an adversary in our midst, a domestic enemy, if you will, that wants us so busy killing each other that their agenda goes steaming right ahead without any interference.
I agree with
And
that.
if we take the bait, and when I hear people, and I'm not going to pick a side, when I hear people talk about violence and civil war, I'm thinking, well, do you not know what you are asking for? What you are, these battles will not be fought on a battleground somewhere far away. They will be fought in our homes, between us and our neighbors. It will be the ugliest thing you have ever seen. In Cold Mountain, which was a Civil War movie, it was entertaining to watch at the beginning of that movie, all these Southern soldiers that wanted war so bad, right? And the war is on, and there's the scene where they're all gathering in the street and the girls are waving at them, and they're like, buddy, we're going to go fight this war. We're going to kill some people. We'll be back by dinner. When in the actual movie, almost none of them survived. And the ones that did came home to a war-torn community. And Renee Zellweger says, this war is nothing but man's bullshit. They say war is a storm on the land, but they made the weather, and now they're standing in the rain saying, oh shit, it's raining.
I play that clip, minus the shit word, but I play that clip all the time on the air.
I love it, Kate.
I do. It really kind of sums up what's happening, and I just hope people. This is my hope. I hope people will continue to ask questions. about what's going on because I think they're too obvious not to ask. But we have the word conspiracy theorist. And if you say that word, it's like dropping the ball and walking off the court. It's supposed to stop the conversation and belittle a question. And we should never be belittling questions. We should be asking, we should be more curious, right?
You know, they say a cliche is a cliche because it's true. Okay? And I love the statement that causation is not correlation. Correlation is not causation, but it can be indicative. Just because when you see things, when facts present themselves to you, it's easy to go down a rabbit hole, and that's where the conspiracy theory thing comes into place. What we need to say is, hey, you need to sharpen your argument skills a little bit. You need to sharpen your investigative skills a little bit, okay? Because shortly after that man's death, I saw people shortly after, before the suspect was even apprehended, I saw people stating emphatically who did it, which side did it, and what their motive was.
Right. You mean the police? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Because they did, man. They had the motive and the age and everything, and they didn't even have the guy. I thought that was a little peculiar.
And I just sat there and I thought, okay, I'm not going to accuse you of engaging in a conspiracy theory here, but I am going to say, you don't know that. Or can I at least get a follow-up question and say, what do you know that I don't know?
I would say that I posted, I think pretty quick, that I did not, I thought this was an inside job. I thought it seemed to me that way because of where it was and everything else, and some things that I knew about it. They switched out the security team, things that I knew. I'm just saying, I did say that. And you can have an opinion. Like you can say, well, I think, blah blah blah, but I feel like leftists more so want to say you guys are all conspiracy theorists, believe the media. Now I want to know why leftists believe the media and believe the government so much. The government's lied to us. Look at COVID, look at Syria, look at Ukraine. I'm like, can you not see the lies? But what's your take on that? Do I have that wrong?
No, I think that you're onto something there. But I don't. I'm in a position now where I'm picking on both sides.
I know.
I feel like
Me too.
I feel like a parent that's walked into a bedroom when my kids are fighting over Tinker Toys. Just knock it the hell off. These are your brothers, right?
Right.
We are Americans. And I posted something recently, and I asserted that basically the assertion was, I think that I'll test it on you. Can we collectively agree that we will collectively agree on this statement? There was 2 days that I'm going to refer in history. December 8th, 1941.
7th?
No.
Oh, you're talking the day after. Okay.
The day after, and September 12th, 2001.
Okay.
Those days, and I was alive for the second one. It was intoxicating to see not a single Democrat or Republican in the bounds of this country. Every one of us were Americans. We'd been attacked, and we were pissed.
Right. We were lied to, but we were pissed. Yes, I get it.
Yes, and I will assert here that nothing in the history of this world, of civilized society, has ever amassed like what happens when the United States is all on the same page.
Right. When they at least are feeling the same about
I'm not
the country.
talking about war. I'm talking about industry and the representative republic that we live under right now that is being demolished in front of our faces is the greatest experiment in human governance in the history of man. But if you study history, which I know you do, every single one of them in the history and past has fallen. They all lasted a bit longer than ours did. Right? I mean, we're at 160 years right now, give or take. But
200.
If we go to war with each other over these factions and ideologies on left, and if we go to war with each other, it is the end of the republic. It's over.
Yeah, Yeah. And the only way to bypass that is to get people very awake to what's happening, not afraid to ask, not afraid to speak out, because people are feeling that way. They want to go along with the crowd. They don't want to get yelled at. So they're refraining from saying, wait a minute, that you can't pass that off as truth, right? So
Right.
you have to get people in a place where they're a lot more vocal, because the more vocal and the more we see, the more we're aware, right? Then we're not falling for this stuff. I mean, people would have not worn the mask if we could have seen through the 10,000 government lies and said, oh, okay, well, this whole COVID, show me an actual pandemic. So I think that we as a populace, if you're awake, you still have to be vocal. There's a responsibility to be vocal, because there's so many still asleep that it doesn't matter. I just think that people go, well, I'm awake. Well, if you're really awake, and I'm 100 layers awake, okay? So if you're really awake, then be vocal. You do not, well, get the courage, first off. And number two, stop, putting it on everyone else to be vocal while you sit in your house and do nothing. And so at least we have the advantage of social media to actually be vocal. Now, I know that the end game on this is to turn us into crazy persons with mental health problems because we don't believe the government or the media. I get that. That's maybe one of their long-term plans with this, as I just pointed out before you came on, Dallas. But still be vocal. Have the courage to do it.
Well, and what you're talking about is two points I want to make. One, I think we could probably agree that you can measure the difference in the last 5 presidential administrations on agenda, not left or right, but measure the difference between them, right, left, respectively. The agenda could be measured in microns. The difference in the agendas can be measured in microns. Things just kept progressing. The repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act by the Clinton administration, the passing of the Citizens United, which allowed corporations to gain more power and influence on our politics, which ultimately I think is the problem. But the other thing is, we have been dumbed down as a society on both sides to believe that all that is required of a citizen is to vote and stay on one side.
Yeah.
Citizenry is so much more than that. It's civic engagement. It's showing up to your city council meetings and saying, no, I don't want you to take down the dog park and build condos. Right.
It
is engagement, and it's engagement with one another.
Well, not government condos, but go ahead.
Aren't they all government condos now?
Not government approved, what they call low income housing. No, but you get the drift. Yeah.
And the idea here is, and this is my credo when I was a writer and when I was on your show. You heard me say it all the time. When people, what are you trying to do? Like, what's your goal? My goal was to incite rigorous dialogue on matters of consequence. That's what Kurt did. Like I said, I don't even know if I disagree or if I didn't like the guy, because I didn't listen to him.
Right. Okay. That's fair. Hey, I mean, I interviewed him. He was great, but I still, there's lots of things about him. You're not allowed to say anything except, you know what I mean? It's very hot right now. So
it's very hot.
Yeah.
And I should qualify that with, I don't want people to think that I was not listening to him because I didn't want to listen to him. I think I stopped writing about 2018, and I kind of went into a self-imposed exile. And the truth of it was, after several years of being on the radio every week and writing 2 or 3 articles every other week, and just, I got saturated, and I literally found myself, I don't have anything else to say. And I went through I won't get too personal, but I went through a little bit of a midlife crisis in my late 40s and early 50s. But you lit a fire under my ass with your post the other day.
Wait, which one? Which one?
My short-term memory sucks.
Probably the first one.
Yeah, probably one of the first ones, because I wrote a similar one, and I'm like, no way, Kate and I agree.
That's rare.
It is, kind of, but my hope, likened to yours, is that we will wake up, and I don't like it that people are categorizing current situations as Nazis.
Yep.
Nazis are the most, probably the Nazi Germany incidents was the most memorable, not for good citizens. Okay. What I'm saying is it collectively, most people, if you say there have been plenty of fascist takeovers of countries and atrocities committed thereafter in history, but most can't name them all. So Nazi gets the prize. Is anytime somebody's doing something that seems somewhat autocratic or fascist, they say you're Nazis. They're not Nazis. And I'm going to say something really bold here. I think Hitler did. I think that the powers, the machinations that be, whoever they are, and I think it may be billionaires, that want our country to go to, that want to turn our country into an autocracy or a theocracy instead of a representative republic. I think that those people are underestimating the American people. I think it was a lot easier for Hitler to convert a bunch of Germans than it's going to be for these people to convert the hundreds of millions of Americans that are in this country, because we are a country that was founded on rebellion. When pressed against the wall, there's nothing scarier on the earth. We are a vicious and violent people, and we're very unforgiving of people who try to take our freedom away. Yeah. And that's my message to people. Violent words are not violence, people. Violence is violence.
Yeah, I wish it was. I wish the media would stop calling it violence to ask questions or say something.
But if we're gonna go down that road and say violence is violence and words are not violence and violence, but violence is violence, we have to understand that there's some words that lead to violence. And I'll articulate exactly what I mean. Anybody who's been in the military or worked in the civil service and worked in a command structure understands. Okay, master sergeant that clean the barracks. If you don't clean the barracks, you're going to be in deep shit, because those words were actually in order. And my message to whoever it is, right? Because I'm not 100% sure yet, but I've got some ideas. Whatever the adversary in our midst is, their mission is to take away our free speech.
Yep. That and gun rights. Yes.
And gun rights will be easier to take away once free speech is removed, because we won't be able to be informed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm saying I agree with you, Dallas. I'll never forget when I had you on the show, and I remember you said, I put on my pants like every other American, and I said, but the left leg first. And we were laughing so hard after that broadcast. And I just remember there were a lot of times we yelled at each other, and there were a lot of times that we, really, truly. And then a lot of times where we actually just laughed, because we had to accept that there were differences, but we were just really trying to have an overall conversation about whatever it was we were. And we talked a lot about local issues. So, yeah.
What I always loved about you was the fact that you were one of those individuals, because not in your life you have people that aren't so good about debate. They're a little bit sensitive. You got to wear kids gloves around them, and be careful not to hurt them, because you and I could get in an argument and everybody would think those two hate each other, and after the show we're cutting up.
I know. Because people don't see that.
It's debate,
right?
I felt like the Archangel Michael when someone wanted to debate something with me. I was like, yeah, battle.
Oh, it's so true. Oh, gosh. Well, what else? You've got about a minute. What else do you want to say? You pretty much said, I think, everything, you know what I mean? And I'm really glad to actually hear you speak out, and I'm glad that you're open to questions, because I find that a lot of people aren't, and they just want to believe the narrative, have it wrapped up with a bow, and move on. But there really is no moving on unless we start identifying the lies. So where do you stand?
I stand exactly with what you said. I couldn't have said it any better, and I'll kind of leave it there. But yes, we absolutely need to come together as an American people and recognize that there is an enemy in our midst that does not have our best interests at heart.
Amen.
And it's a conversation for another day, because we got 30 seconds left.
Yeah, well, we're coming there. We
need to start discussing and maybe taking some action to undo that. And the way things are going, the brevity and the speed with which things are moving, turning this into a theocracy is scary. And it's men who forget their history or don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. Men and women are to repeat it. We are in doomed to repeat it mode.
What percentage of the country do you think feels this way? Because I know that when the media showcase, I don't know, I can't say I know, but I do think that the media showcases people on the left as these extremists that are laughing and doing all that. I don't know how many of those are trolls that they prop up, and I don't know how many actually really would go there. What's the percentages, do you think?
Gosh, I couldn't put a number on it, but you're absolutely right. The left and the right streams, if you will, the posts are trying to get you to think that the other side is the enemy when in fact they're not, right? They're just doing the same thing you're doing. They're saying what's on their mind. They're espousing their opinions, but and
some of it can be manufactured. Some of it can be in our laps as this is what 30% of the country are doing. They're laughing at somebody's death, but I don't know that they are. Yeah.
You remember what I alluded to earlier about if you believe what a news station tells you, I will double down on that. Say, if you believe everything you see in your feed, you know, I guess my message right now is we need to turn the phones off a little bit sometimes and focus on community and friends and realize that we're not enemies of each other.
Right, because if you believe that, you're riding the short bus. Sorry, but I mean, it's bad.
Well,
I mean, we don't have much
also,
going on.
You're setting up a scenario that is more, I won't go into some of the things I think will happen if it goes down and there actually is a civil war. It's not going to be over by dinner time, guys, and you aren't going to be home.
Right. Well, it'll be.
You're like, what does it look like? I heard, I saw one person. I'm not going to name his name, but he's calling out for we need to go door to door and root out this what they're calling evil. Because they're both saying it. We need to go door to door and root this out. You're going to go door to door.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's how this war is going to be fought.
Right. Well, we're doing exactly, many people, not everybody, but they're doing exactly what I think this operation, and I do think it's an operation, was all about.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It may not, and what it wasn't was very successful.
Yeah, for sure.
If there was a plan in mind, the people that did the planning kind of weren't all on the same page, it looks like.
Jeez. I mean, I just can't believe what they're trying to sell people. I'm just amazed at everything coming in going, people believe this? Wow. And I've done that on a few things right on the air, but my gosh. So, and we live in the area of the alleged suspect, which I think he's such a patsy.
Yep.
So I just feel for the family because he's such a patsy. So anyway,
I have been mildly entertained at the way the people that are perpetuating this notion that it was him have tripped over themselves and had to backpedal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Dallas. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. I'm sure you'll come on again. And it's always good to get another set of eyes on it. And thank you. Really appreciate you. It's hard to do this, so thank you. Really appreciate you. And I'll say, I'm glad that actually that Dallas came on. I think it's always good. You know, we differed on so many things, probably 80% of the stuff. And there were a few moments where we actually thought the same. And so it's always interesting to kind of hear where people are at. And that was 8 years ago. So that he used to come on the show, and he came on a pretty weekly basis, I'd say. So you're listening to this show on really my own radio station, which is pretty amazing, KateDalleyRadio.com. And it's also streaming live to YouTube right now. And I'll take this and I'll put it on this recording and I'll put it on Rumble. And then through this week, I will be live on X and live on so many platforms. So this was just kind of the week of making sure everything is working right. And I really appreciate you guys. I've got a new studio, it makes it a lot nicer. And shout out to Sean Denovan for his help. And I thank all of you, really and truly. I told you yesterday that I was taking Cardio Miracle twice and that I feel really good. And I shouldn't, because I have very, very lack of sleep and a whole lot of stress happening right now. And I'm telling you that that is the one thing I've changed. And so I wanted to tell you that because most people take it once a day. Take it twice a day. It makes a huge difference. My husband noticed this too. Go to cardiomiracle.com/Kate. It helps with stress. It helps with neuropathy. It helps with a lot of stuff. But it just puts that nitric acid back in your body, and we lose that as we age. And I'm telling you, it's fantastic. And I just wanted to share that with you because it's been my experience, to tell you the truth. So there you go. Also, hit the links on the website. I would really appreciate that. And then go to katetalks.myshopify.com and get the ebooks. There's more coming, I promise. I've just been very busy with the setup of this, but there's more ebooks coming. There's like 50 of them coming. So the ebooks are coming out, and I'm actually really excited about that because the proof is in print, you know what I mean? Not just on SoundCloud, not just on whatever, but in print by topic. And I know you guys had asked for that for a long time, and it just took me a long time to finally get there and teach myself how to do it, which, by the way, can I just say the computer illiterate? I am the computer illiterate. That is me. So anyway, I just want to let you guys know on Thursday, I may have Dr. Judy Mikovits and Dr. Kirk Moore. So I just wanted to let you know for the Thursday show that Judy, who worked under Fauci and worked for the government for a long time, and one of the biggest whistleblowers of 2020, she's going to be coming back on, and I think it's going to be on Thursday. So I'm just solidifying that with her right now. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Be faithful, be fearless. I really, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And same time, same bat channel tomorrow. All right, you guys, be faithful, be fearless. See you tomorrow. KateDalleyRadio.com.